Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I am Heena Gambhir. In a significant development, the Enforcement Directorate today arrested Maharashtra Minister Nawab Malik in an alleged case of money laundering linked to a property deal involving D Company. Now, the ED is probing D Company link in a money laundering case where a property deal that Nawab Malik entered into. The allegation is that this property was allegedly bought by Nawab Malik from an aide of Don Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar. Property of 2.80 acre in Kurla, bought for a meager 30 lakh rupees. Now, the PMLA court has heard the arguments of both ED as well as Nawab Malik. Meanwhile, there are a series of meetings, in fact, that we saw taking place throughout the day today. The Mahavikas Agadhi involving Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, Deputy Chief Minister. There were other leaders like Sharad Pawar and many other leaders on what should be their next course of action. We've seen, in fact, comments as well coming from across political parties in Maharashtra over this big development. Leaders of Mahavikas Agadhi are also going to stage an agitation tomorrow morning in protest against the misuse of central agencies as alleged by the opposition parties. And before I tell you more about what happened today, let's straight away go across to my colleague Ketan, who is tracking the developments very, very closely on the ground. Ketan, thank you for joining us live this evening. You're live from outside Varsha, which is the Chief Minister's official residence. Can you tell us what is happening as we speak? A lot of meetings happened throughout the day. A lot of comments as well have been made by leaders of Mahavikas Agadhi. And Chhagan Bhujbal is in fact addressing a press conference where my colleague Ketan is. Let's cut across.
आज मोठी दुर्दैवाची गोष्ट आहे पहाटे आमचे सहकारी मंत्री नवाब मलिक जी त्यांच्या घरी लोक गेले वगैरे केला आणि त्यांना घेऊन ते ऑफिसमध्ये गेले सकाळी 6 वाजता. त्यानंतरची काही चौकशी करून आता कोर्टामध्ये त्यांना जेव्हा उभं केलं तर आपल्या सगळ्यांना कल्पना आहे की दोन्ही बाजूने जे आहे त्याच्यावर आर्ग्युमेंट झाला, चर्चा झाली आणि एकूण काय तर 1992 सालचा FIR त्यावेळच्या घटना 1999 साली त्या जागेचं काहीतरी ॲग्रीमेंट आणि त्याच्यानंतर 12 वर्षाने PMLAचा जन्म. त्यामुळं ज्यावेळेला PMLA नव्हताच त्यावेळच्या ह्या घटना ज्या आहेत, ज्या घटनांच्या बाबतीमध्ये जे सांगतात की दाऊदच्या हे बॉम्बस्फोट केले, खरं आहे ते. अनेक लोक त्याच्यामध्ये ठार झाले, पण त्या केसेस चालल्या, त्याच्यामध्ये काही लोकांना फाशी झाली, अनेक लोक जेलमध्ये गेले. पण ह्या 30 वर्षामध्ये कुठेही नवाब मलिक यांचं नाव सुद्धा कोणीही कधी घेतलं नाही. परंतु आता नवाब मलिक हे सातत्यानं भारत सरकारच्या BJPच्या त्यांच्या कार्यकर्त्यांच्या संदर्भामध्ये बोलतात किंवा ज्यांच्यावर अन्याय होतो आहे तो अन्याय कशा रीतीने होतो आहे त्याचा उलगडा करून सविस्तरपणे ते सांगतात. निडर आणि बेडरपणे म्हणून त्यांचं तोंड बंद करण्यासाठी हा सगळा एफ-आय-आर झाल्याशिवाय PCR होत नाही. त्याच्यामध्ये मानवता एफ-आय-आर म्हणून फेब्रुवारीमध्ये एक एफ-आय-आर केला गेला NIA-तर्फे आणि त्याचा संदर्भ घेऊन नवाब मलिक यांना अटक करण्यात आली आणि त्यांच्यावर जे आहे ह्या केसेस जे आरोप करण्यात आले. खरं म्हणजे आरोप नवाब वकील यांच्या वतीनं सगळे आरोप फेटाळण्यात आलेले आहेत आणि हे खरंच आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये सुद्धा सलीम पटेल म्हणून सांगतात ते सुद्धा नवाब मलिक यांच्या वकिलांनी अमित देसाई ॲडव्होकेट यांनी सांगितलं तो शकीलचे जे दोस्त होते तो सलीम फ्रूट आणि हे दुसरा सलीम पटेल आहे. ज्या त्या तो सलीम फ्रूट तो पण वारले आणि त्या हसीना पारकर त्याही वारल्या. आता केवळ कुठेतरी जे आहे वडाची साल पिंपळाला लावायची आणि अटक करायची.
So that was Chhagan Bhujbal, Maharashtra Minister, addressing the media, trying to suggest that PMLA was established only after 12 years of land agreement. In 30 years, nobody took Nawab Malik's name in this particular case, and timing clearly is being questioned by the Agadhi government and the leaders there. Let's now go across to my guests who are joining us on the broadcast on Urban Debate this evening on this very, very important issue. So is this about ED following the procedure, or is it about political vendetta as being alleged by leaders of Agadhi government? That's our debate on Urban Debate at 8 tonight. Shaina NC, spokesperson of the BJP, is joining us. Anil Patil, General Secretary and Chief Spokesperson, Congress, is live with us. Krishna Hegde, former MLA and leader Shiv Sena, is live with us as well. Karan Verma, author and political commentator. We also are joined by Inderpal Singh, leader NCP and advocate. And we have with us my colleague Mandar Phanse, who is also the associate editor, Mirror Now. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. Mandar, if I could begin, the discussion with you, because we could not speak to Ketan, because where he is right now, this press conference is taking place. Could you just bring us up to speed about what really has happened in this meeting at the Chief Minister's residence?
So as I learnt, Heena, as of now, we come to know that tomorrow morning, as a coordinated effort and as a consolidated effort from the MVA constituent members, they are going to do a protest dharna at the Gandhi statue in the South Mumbai. So that is how the strategy is being charted out. There were quick huddles of the NCP party heads, and along with the NCP party heads, all of the rest of the senior political leaders were also there. And now that the Varsha residence of Chief Minister Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, all the leaders are also there. Now that we have seen Mr. Chhagan Bhujbal was speaking to media, it seems that there is some strategy which is being charted out by the senior leaders. It will kind of unroll from tomorrow morning, and we'll come to know gradually what exactly the MVA is going to react like with this kind of a situation. As of now, we can say that MVA is really battling and struggling with continuous onslaught on their own leaders, senior leaders and very responsible leaders of each political party, be it Shiv Sena, NCP or Congress.
Right.
And therefore, we need to see how this political drama, which has already begun in Maharashtra say a few months back, now what kind of a turn it will take.
Right. Right. Interesting. Mandar, stay on with us. In fact, we are also now getting to know that Agadhi leaders have made it very clear there's no question of resignation until it is proved there is no question of resignation. Remember, that was the demand of the BJP as well. Stay with us, Mandar. Inderpal Singh, leader NCP and advocate, is also live with us. Inderpal Singh, now BJP has rubbished all allegations of political vendetta. According to the BJP, Mr. Malik bought land from gangster Dawood Ibrahim's aid, and this is a valid case. And now, after investigation, this arrest has happened. So why call a procedure political vendetta?
I'll tell you one thing clearly. When ED came in picture, first there must be a schedule offence. There must be an FIR. So there is no FIR against the Nawab Malik. Let me clear this one thing. Now they are claiming that there is NIA has taken some schedule offence or registered some case. Again, I will tell you one more thing, that there is no name of Nawab Malik is mentioned in the NIA FIR also. Now, they have not given any summon to the Nawab Malik, and in section 50, they have to record his statement. For that, a reasonable period of time may be given to the person whom you want to arrest. That reasonable time period is not given. Now, ED, all the provisions of sections of ED, because they arrested under section 19. When they can arrest under section 19 of PMLA Act, when they are having a sufficient material against the accused person, then only officer can arrest the accused. But you will appreciate that hardly there was an interrogation of 6 to 7 hours, and the ED officers are claiming that they are having a sufficient material against the Nawab Malik. So this is something unconstitutional and illegal, and this is gross abuse of process of law. So in this country now, what BJP is doing, BJP is parallel running all the agencies. The agencies are a puppet of the central government because they are not following any provision of law. They are not following any constitution. Even they had not followed the PMLA Act. And this action of the officer is...
So those are a number of charges that you have listed out, Inderpal Singh. I would like China NC to respond to each one of those. One, there's no FIR, no summons were there, 6 to 7 hours of interrogation, and no sufficient material for arrest. That's the view of the NCP, and according to the NCP and other political parties of Mahavikas Agadhi, it is nothing but political vendetta. Your response, please.
Firstly, the case of Nawab Malik and the Enforcement Directorate is in connection with money laundering, and the case is also directly affected by the kind of misuse of power one has seen when it comes to the association with the underworld, etc. Now, when I say the underworld, is this a figment of our own imagination, or is that something that has been raised by Devendra Fadnavis, the leader of the House, in the opposition, assembly after assembly? You know, we have seen the kind of misuse of people in powers that be. And obviously, the Enforcement Directorate is only talking about the Dawood-related company link. If you have a 3-acre plot of land, which is given at a very dismal price, and obviously with association with those who were part of the bomb blast scare, I think this is not political vendetta. These are facts which are in the public domain, and obviously one wants to ensure that the truth comes out in the public purview. You know, I heard earlier in the day a lot of the NCP leaders speaking and crying foul. I only want to say, if they have nothing to worry about, why is it that they are all so scared and afraid of being, in a predicament where they have dug up their own grave? Let's understand, Dawood Ibrahim, whether he belongs to a particular religion or not, is not the area in contention here. Yes, of course, if there is a money laundering which has happened, people connected to the underworld that have given and procured this land, this large piece of land to Mr. Nawab Malik for piddly sums of money, then I think that there are issues to be brought out in the public purview. And rather than sitting in judgment, since the matter is sub judice, let it be out in the public domain. And the ED questioning Mr. Nawab Malik is only part of the process. It's not part of a witch hunt. So those who are trying to say that the ED, comes...
not witch hunt. In fact, BJP, Mr. Inderpal Singh is now trying to suggest that it was misuse of power on part of Mr. Nawab Malik, that today this kind of an action has, has happened against him. How will you like to respond to what she said?
To me?
Yes.
Repeat your question.
Mr. Inderpal Singh, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm saying BJP's Heena NC has called it misuse of power, and she's also saying that, it's not really witch hunt because, at a meager price, this 3-acre plot was given to Mr. Nawab Malik, and that definitely raises many, many questions. And if there's nothing wrong that he's done, then he shouldn't really worry about anything.
Now I'll clarify that one thing, that they are claiming the plot of land, dealing of plot of land in the year 1993 or in between the 2003. That is the period. At that time, there was no PMLA. There was no PMLA Act. And there was no ED. That agency was not existing. To book any person in ED, you require the schedule offence. There must be an FIR against that person. And I'll tell you, in the entire life of Mr. Nawab Malik, there is no single FIR.
Help me understand this point that Mr. Inderpal saying, because we heard the same thing from Mr. Chhagan Bhujbal also. So if, for example, going by ED's claims in this particular case, if an offence has been committed when there was no PMLA, then should there be no investigation in that particular case? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that your argument?
If there is any offence, there must be an FIR. Show me the FIR of this land. Tell Miss Heena NC to show the FIR of this land against the Nawab Malik. Nawab Malik is accused in that particular land case. When he is not accused in that case,
okay, Mr. Hegde also wanted to come in.
Look, on February 15th,
there is no FIR.
The enforcement
Heena, quick response then, Mr. Hegde.
On February 15, the ED had carried out about 10 raids at 10 locations linked to Dawood Ibrahim's late sister, Heena Parkar.
You have said what you had to say, Heena. Now please let us talk.
Salim Fruit.
First of all, Heena, let us talk.
Brother-in-law of
this is totally vindictive.
Okay.
This agency...
Mr. Hegde, one second.
Can I finish my point?
Mr. Hegde, 1 second. 10 seconds only. Heena, quick response, please. The simple question is that, since there's no FIR, this action...
1 second. First, look at the process of law. On February 15, the ED had conducted 10 raids at locations including Dawood Ibrahim's late sister, Heena Parkar, Iqbal Kaskar, Salim Qureshi, and many others who are also part of the gangsters Chota Shakil. Now, the agency has taken custody of Mr. Iqbal Kaskar in the same case. And if that has happened on February 15th, post which, obviously, if there is evidence which is related to property purchased by Nawab Malik and has surfaced through the ongoing investigation, this is only due process of law. So if they have questioned him and asked him on these particular the case which has come up, I think that you need to understand that this is a process.
Krishna Hegde now wants to come in. Heena, you've made that point. Okay, procedure is being followed. That's what you're trying to tell us. Let Krishna Hegde also respond. Krishna Hegde, please go ahead.
This is total vindictive politics by the BJP. The BJP cannot digest the fact that the Mahavikas Agadhi is running successfully for the last 2.5 years. They wanted to drop this government. They wanted to defame this government. They want to create a wrong perception among the people. This is not, I would say this is not only vindictive politics here. They are targeting all our ministers, whether it is Anil Deshmukh ji, whether it is Sanjay Raut ji, whether it is Ravindra Vaikar ji. They are targeting everybody in the Mahavikas Agadhi because they want to bring this government down. But their motive is not going to be successful. Not only in Maharashtra, but this vindictive politics is all over the country. Whether the raids on Abhishek Banerjee, whether it is on Mr. Stalin's daughter, whether it is on CM Channi's nephew, whether it is in Jharkhand, whether it's in Kerala on Pinari Vijayanji, whether it is on Kejriwal, Chief Secretary, the list is extremely endless. They want to finish the opposition. They want to finish democracy in India. They want to damage the constitution, and that is what BJP is doing. Now, without a summons, without any proof, they are just getting after Nawab Bhai because he has been exposing them for the last 6 months. Nawab Bhai's advocate has clearly said that Salim Patel is a common name. This Salim Patel is different from that Salim Patel and Salim Fruitwala. So where is the connection? Secondly, Nawab Bhai has said that, or his advocate has said that they have bought this property 20 years ago. Devendra Fadnavis ji was in power 2 years ago. Why didn't he open these cases? This is nothing but vindictive politics, and today the country knows there is no Vikas, there is no growth in economy, there is no GDP. The farmers were struggling there for 1.5 years and 650 farmers died. No one is going to talk about that. Even in Maharashtra, the financial hubs are being
Shiv Sena is also of the view that all Maharashtra ministers are being targeted by the BJP to bring the government down. Apart from this, Karan Verma, we've also heard from Mr. Sharad Pawar that if there is a Muslim activist who is their opponent, their habit is to link his name to Dawood. These are the kind of comments that we've heard. How will you like to respond? Because we have seen in the past as well, a lot of times ED action has taken place, but what is the conviction rate? Now, this is the data that I have from Finance Ministry up to 20th January 2020. From 2011 to 2020, 1,700 raids were conducted under PMLA. Conviction in only 9 cases could happen till 2020. So why, are you trying to dismiss then these charges of, these being only political vendetta?
See, this is this question for me?
So,
I've given you a full list of people.
It's a very irresponsible. It's a very.
Sir, that is for Karan Verma.
It's for me, I guess. Yeah. Heena, it's a very irresponsible statement to say that he's being targeted just because of his religion. Because let's understand this, whether political vendetta or not, the Bhajan Lal case sets it aside that the judges or anything is decided on the merit of the case. If there is a trail of money which is established by the ED, and the ED officers are pretty confident that there is a trail of money, then it's a very serious matter which concerns national security. And I saw Mr. Inderpal, he was talking about the legalities, whether a summons should be issued or not. But the fact of the matter is that this is a very serious matter, and the commission of offence happened in 2005. Which is after the PMLA Act came in 2002. And whether the Act existed or not, if there is a shady deal which has happened where a land has been taken for a pittance with the associates of a terror accused or a terrorist like Dawood Ibrahim, then it's a very serious matter. It should be investigated, and the ED officers have clearly said that he has not cooperated during the questioning. And the arrest was imminent in that case. And once the arrest is made, how do you expect a minister to function? The minister must resign, get an acquittal. And let's not forget that Nawab Malik has been an habitual offender in the past. In 2005, he was indicted in a corruption case when Anna Hazare sat on a protest against him. So he had to resign even then. So let's be clear with the facts, and let's wait for the investigations to unfold. Let's not start going gaga that there is political witch hunt. It's a matter of national security, and let the agencies do the probe and reach a fruitful conclusion.
Atul Patil of the Congress Party wanted to respond. Yes, then I'll go across to Mr. Singh.
Yeah, I want to make 2-3 questions. There is a procedure of law, established procedure of law in India. How come an officer of the level of assistant director, just a beginner in the department, has been found guilty, has been found to be guilty of an offence punishable under? Is he a judge? Is he a court? Is he a judiciary to give a verdict? This is number one. Number two, there is no retrospectivity in criminal law as far as the constitution is concerned. Go and read Article 20. Number two. Number three, PMLA. ED is not a primary agency. Unless and until there is an FIR, you cannot arrest any person. These are the two, 3 legal points which I want to make. But there are some political things which prove that this is political vendetta and nothing else. Let me ask 2-3 questions to all of them who are claiming that there is a problem of, there is a matter of national security and the concern, national security concerns and all that. These people have following the modus operandi of making allegations. This has happened with Mr. Sharad Pawar 25 years back. They have associated Mr. Sharad Pawar with Dawood Ibrahim. What happened to that? After that, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was Prime Minister for 6 years, and Mr. Modi is Prime Minister, still Prime Minister for the last 7 years. Nothing has happened. They could not have been able to take it to the logical end. Number two, how come people become imandar after joining BJP? There are 3-4 blatant cases which I know. Mr. Rane, who has been alleged by Somaya just a year back, before just a 2-3 year back, before joining BJP, with a serious allegations of money laundering from Cyprus to some tax haven country, with all proof submitted to ED. After that, he joined BJP and suddenly became an imandar. The same case has happened with 4 MPs who had defected. 100% defection was made in TDP in Rajya Sabha. The name is CM Ramesh, YS Chaudhary, TG Venkateshan, Gauri Kapti, Mohan Rao. These 4 people were investigated by, investigation was undergoing by CBI, by income tax, and by ED also. Suddenly investigation stopped, and same thing has happened with Mukul Roy Sharda scam also. So how come only those people are bad or corrupt or wrong, those who are opposition? And the moment people join BJP, they become imandar. Along with all journalists also, imandar shabd has become, there are few words which has become very problematic. And my last point, please listen. Making allegation without evidences has become a modus operandi of BJP. And the same thing has happened in 2G case also. What judge has said, after 7 years, he said, I sat there for 7 years, 11 to 7 p.m., 24/7. Not a cheatura, not a sheet of evidence has been submitted. So how come
I'll get China NC to respond to that. We have Rizwan Siddiqui, who is an advocate, also joining us on the broadcast. But before that, I want to quickly go back to Mandar as well, my colleague. Mandar, now you've heard both the sides here. You've been tracking this case very, very closely. And earlier we heard, NCP also trying to suggest that ED has flouted rules by picking up Nawab Malik without giving any kind of prior notice. So could you just, bring out for our viewers the facts in this case?
Listen, Heena, basically the issue itself is a very murky issue right now. That the way now since that the issue is already in the public domain, and all the ED and Nawab Malik arguments are already there on the channels and in the media. Instead of going to that, I would just want to come up with one more point which is very important, and that is there is some correlation, some kind of a activity which is on since almost 6, 7, 8 months in Maharashtra since the MVA government has come into power. All the allegations are happening and nothing concrete is being seen done by any of the agencies. The central agencies are coming in, and in the name of investigations they are arresting people. Some people are evading the arrest, and at the same time the political discourse has completely gone to dogs in Maharashtra, especially in Mumbai. The way the political discourse is happening, be it BJP, be it NCP, Shiv Sena especially, the whole political discourse has gone very personalized attack, and it seems that this vendetta politics has no end in Maharashtra. And it is even going worse and worse day by day. So considering all these situations, there is a hopeless situation in Maharashtra politics as of now, and we must say that all these allegations needs to be there has to be some kind of a limitation to all these allegations. The way Sharad Pawar today has spoken about 25 years back allegation, and nothing, as Atul has just mentioned, that nothing has been proved. There has to be some kind of a limit to all such kind of political discourse. Otherwise, the belief structure, the trust deficit increases in the people. That accountability has to be there in these allegations.
Interesting point you've made, Mandar. Yes, I'll go across to China on this and what the Congress spokesperson here on the show had to say. But before that, opening comments from Rizwan Siddiqui, who's an advocate as well, also joining us. Rizwan, we are trying to understand in this particular debate whether this is also political vendetta as being alleged by leaders of Mahavikas Agadhi, or procedure is being followed by Enforcement Directorate, which, clearly is not really having a very good reputation, because I was just quoting some data from the Ministry of Finance only. 1,700 raids under PMLA were conducted in about 9 years. Conviction could only happen in 9 cases till now. and most of them were high-profile cases. So is it actually, as being alleged by, the opposition, the Mahavikas Aghadi government here, that it's just witch hunt and nothing else?
First and foremost, as a lawyer, I don't want to comment on anything which is political. I'll only talk about provisions of law and whether procedures were followed or not, because it is in best interest that I speak only on law point and not on any political points. Whereas the courts are concerned, the Supreme Courts and the High Courts are concerned, in various judgments, they have used the words, even the words cage parrots were used earlier. That enforcement directorate has been used, and not only ED, but also various other law enforcement agencies have been used with political motives, of course. But this is what the courts have also said. This is not what I am saying. Secondly, what I want to say is that as far as the procedures of law is concerned, the procedures of law have to be followed to the T. And specifically when it comes to arresting a person and taking over his fundamental rights and liberties. Now, in this case, what I personally see is that no summons were issued, and that is the question which was raised before the court. But unfortunately, it was raised only in a remand application. Now, unless and until this particular question is raised before, the Constitutional Court of the state, that is the Bombay High Court, and the Bombay High Court is seized of the matter and looks into the merits of the case, whether the arrest was made by following a procedure of law or not, only then this particular question would be answered. As of now, I personally feel that because we do not have clarity on this issue, and though Mr. Nawab Malik has alleged that very clearly he has made out a case, and he said that no summons were issued and the summons were given on the very day when he met the officers of the ED. So now the burden of proof would be on the ED to prove on what basis is Mr. Nawab Malik making this claim. Were the service of summons done by hand, or whether by email, or whether by post, or whether by WhatsApp? Because everything is allowed. So now the ED will have to answer serious questions as to how this service of summons was giving effect to. And if the summons are challenged, then the High Court very well will term this particular arrest to be illegal, and then the courts will decide the matter on merits. But as far as the other questions are concerned, whether he is guilty, not guilty, well, I am not the judge. I would not know the facts of the matter, because political parties will make allegations against each other.
Well, of course, that's a matter of investigation, and that's why we are discussing here whether it is procedure or political vendetta. Shaina NC, please respond to what the Congress spokesperson had to say, what the Shiv Sena spokesperson had to say, because now the allegation is that no summons really were issued, and something that Mr. Inderpal Singh from the NCP also told us. In fact, Nawab Malik was picked up from his house by the probe agency at 7 a.m. for interrogation, and then he was arrested in the afternoon.
So I want to make 2-3 points. One being that sabse pehle we really need to highlight that this case is not just something that you're seeing today. It's been going on for a while. Obviously, the kind of facts which have come out in the public domain clearly suggest that there was a 30 lakhs given for a property worth crores, and obviously the registration value of the land decreased. These are not just allegations, but there's substantive proof. Obviously, the enforcement directorate, when they interrogated Dawood Ibrahim's family, the facts are crystal clear that it is a case of money laundering. Now, if one believes that it is not for whatever reason, then let the honorable courts decide whether the property was sold less than market value or at market price. The second most important is the connect to the underworld. And I think this is something that cannot be taken lightly, because this also arrives at terror activities, which one saw during the Bombay bomb blast. And
Shaina, I'm just trying to interrupt you here. Here we are not really discussing the merits of the case. Of course, that's a matter of investigation. We're yet to hear what the ED has found on the basis of which he was arrested. The question is, yes, I agree. It is something that ED will have to tell us. We don't have the facts of the case right now. There must be definitely some evidence. My question is simple. Why is there this feeling that, it is witch hunt and nothing else? Because the charge is that for so many years, his name never came in this particular case.
Well, it's due process of law. As I said, on February 15, the ED raided 10 places. Post that, there came to know a money trail connected to the D company. And obviously, this is substantive evidence. and let the agencies do their job. Let us not sit in panic mode and try to pronounce somebody guilty or innocent. That is a matter which is sub judice. But an old case which is revived, which people have been saying, please look at Devendra Fadnavis's statements in the assembly where he has raised this issue on multiple occasions in the past.
Can I come into this?
Correct.
Yes, Atul Patil and then Krishna Hegde.
So she's talking about the matter is sub judice and nobody is judged. But how come a officer of the level of assistant director is claiming that he's guilty? We have a jurisprudence in our country. We have a due process of law in our country. We have a procedure established by law in our country. How come this has happened? And how it is tolerable? Number one. Number two, if it is a case related to...
No,
related to security, how come...
My question to Krishna Hegde and Atul Patil.
Listen, last
Okay, one second.
5 seconds.
Very quickly, please.
What special director of ED is doing? How come a officer of the level of assistant director is signing the order? He is a minister.
Okay. Krishna Hegde, quick response.
Wherever there is elections...
Krishna Hegde, my question is that why term any kind of action of this sort as political vendetta? I mean, don't you think even this is being used in a very common way by all parties in the opposition?
See, our respected BJP spokesperson just said that it is a Dawood Ibrahim versus the other issue. The BJP always likes to make it Hindu versus Muslim whenever there is election because they want to polarize votes. And today they know that the Mumbai municipal elections are there, corporation elections are there.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Mr. Hegde, but who has made it Hindu versus Muslim this time? It was Mr. Sharad Pawar, in fact, who said if there is a Muslim activist who is their opponent, their habit is to link his name to Dawood.
Let me please complete what I have started.
What kind of a statement was that, sir?
No.
Okay,
listen.
Mr. Krishna Hegde.
Wherever there is election, they want to polarize the issue. Secondly, if they are so sincere and honest about corruption, Sanjay Rao ji has just said that there is a 25,000 crore corruption in the previous BJP government. Why doesn't the CBI and the ED expose that? Why don't they investigate that? Thirdly, their own governor from Goa, Mr. Satpal Malik, said that in Goa, the BJP government has huge corruption and it is the most corrupt government in history. So why doesn't the ED and the CBI investigate the Chief Minister of Goa, Pramod Sawantji, and bring whatever the facts are to the floor? They will not do it. They will not do it. They will not do it. They will just target the Maharashtra Vikas Agadhi because they cannot digest the fact that in Maharashtra they have lost the government and the Maharashtra Vikas Agadhi is in power. They want to defame the government. Today they see that...
Okay, Karan Verma wanted to respond as well.
Heena, the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi is anything but successful, and Mr. Anil Deshmukh is a bright, shining example. It's a deja vu of what happened last year when they were all shouting political witch hunt, and we saw what happened with Anil Deshmukh when he was exposed.
One at a time, please. One at a time, please.
Please let me complete now, sir. I did not interrupt when you were speaking.
One at a time, please. Mr. Patil, I will give you time to respond. Mr. Patil, I will give you time to respond. Karan, quickly make your point. I have very little time left on the debate.
Yeah.
Mr. Patil, Mr. Hegde, I will give you time to respond.
Mr. Anil Deshmukh is yet
Karan,
to get
very quickly
bail.
make your point.
He did not. Mr. Anil Deshmukh, the Home Minister, had to resign. He was exposed by his own police commissioner. They were all shouting political witch hunt even then. He is yet to get bail. Even the courts can't be biased. So let's not kid ourselves when we say that the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi is running like a dream and they're jealous of them and they're trying to sabotage this government. This government has sabotaged itself by its actions.
When the police commissioner
exposes
but the case is still going on. That is what my colleague Mandar was also talking about.
So is there a...
This is going on. He's yet to get bail.
That case is still going on. That is the reason why Mandar very clearly said that in the last few months there's this perception that, ministers are being targeted.
let me respond. Let me respond this. Mr. Karan Verma.
At least let's not
Mr.
shout
Karan
political
Verma,
witch hunt then.
Krishna
You have
Hegde.
yourself to blame.
Listen.
Your conduct to
please,
blame.
please,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, one at a time. Karan, you've made your point. I have very little time left now. Mr. Patil, then Mr. Hegde. Whoever wants to go first.
I have already mentioned the case of 2G. What has happened in that, we have already discussed. Number two, Commissioner, officer of the level of commissioner has leveled allegations of 100 crores. What has happened? Now it has come down to 1 crore 73 lakhs. Now it has come down to 1.73 lakh only. Now see what happened in Sushant case. Didn't BJP has used CBI?
Okay.
Didn't BJP has used ED? This is continuously, this kind of things are continuously happening. And how come? Who is Mr. Somaya? Who is Mr. Neeraj Gunde?
Okay.
Who comes on a Twitter every
10 seconds closing comments, Mr. Hegde, then Rizwan Siddiqui.
Claims that it is
See,
going to arrest this minister, that it is going to arrest that minister. Who are they?
The ED, the country.
Okay, Mr. Patil, I got your point, and that was the point, in fact, that I was also trying to make, that what happened to those cases. That's why I was quoting data from Ministry of Finance. Mr. Hegde, then Rizwan Siddiqui. 10 seconds only. I have no time left now. Please.
Today, the whole country is aware that there is a witch hunting and there is a process to defame all governments which are from the opposition. The whole thing is such that the ED, the FERA, the DRI are all working as frontal wings of the BJP and are in hyperactive mode and trying to destabilize. This is an attack on democracy.
Okay.
This is an attack on the constitution. Okay. And the people of India.
Rizwan Siddiqui, BJP says that if they haven't done anything wrong, then there's nothing really to worry about.
Nobody is scared. Nobody is scared.
Well, I don't want to get into what BJP says or what Congress says. I'll only talk about what the law says. Okay, it is very simple. The provision of law in this case does not appear to be having followed, first thing. And secondly, the very fact that somebody gets to somebody's house at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and then they start the center exercise specifically with a public person who's not likely to escape, So therefore, there creates a lot of suspicion. I'm
completely out of time, but I appreciate all of you for joining us here on Urban Debate this evening. Of course, Mahavikas Aghadi is expected to hold agitation tomorrow morning, and Mirror Now is going to keep you ahead on this big story developing in Maharashtra. With this, we will slip into a very, very short break. Last liner for you on the other side. Stay with us.